all depends on your skill. It's showtime.
Welcome back, everyone. And boy, oh boy, since the last edition of CFM Radio, Drix, a lot has gone on in the game industry.
Yeah, a bit of drama while we're all over here enjoying this blessed year of releases that we have on our hands.
Beautiful year of releases, hot off the heels of a Nintendo Direct. We had the Microsoft FTC trials beginning, and these 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and yesterday, or Tuesday, crazy days for Microsoft. Before we start into the news, before we get into the nitty-gritty of all the industry craziness and our normal programming on CFM Radio, let's take a moment to appreciate all the games that we've had in this past year. There have been so many great releases: Resident Evil 4 Remake, Zelda, Hogwarts Legacy, Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy 16. So many great games. Diablo 4. Crazy amount of games.
Armored Core 6, just around the corner, too.
Just around the corner.
Yeah, and even our beloved AEW Wrestling Fight Forever, which has been talked about for a while, but it's finally getting a release soon as well.
Very, very soon. We're going to talk about it later in the show. And you know what, Drakes? I just got to say, this year of gaming, it has been quite excellent, but it has been quite surprising. A lot of games right now, I know we've had, we'll talk about Final Fantasy 16 in a minute because I've been playing the hell out of it, but let's take a step back. Now that the dust has settled on a lot of these games, so to speak, Zelda, Resident Evil, Diablo even, and Street Fighter 6, right? The first Street Fighter 6 character is right around the corner, you know? So...
yeah, DLC's coming.
People are already maxing out Diablo. People are already going top of the rank ladder on Street Fighter. So let's talk about a couple of these games. Drakes, what game have you had the most fun with this year?
Man, I mean, as far as new releases, I have a lot of the most fun playing Street Fighter now, I think, yeah, because of its cartoonish style and dense single-player mode. Like, I seriously I feel like I haven't gotten to know the roster of characters yet because I've just been in World Tour mode, making my own experiences and stuff. And also, Diablo has me gaming a bit more socially, as there's just been a wave of people that have come to play it, and, like, it's good. I feel like I'm playing Diablo 2 again in a bit stronger ways than I felt about 3, which awesome. I can't really put my finger on, but there's just a lot to do, and I know a lot of people who are playing it, so a lot of us are having a great time still with that one.
Hell yeah, that's great. You know, I too been playing a lot of Street Fighter 6. I'm actually on the opposite side of the coin. I've been playing a lot with the roster, getting to know them a lot, and I've been playing a lot online. I'm Mr. Ranked.
The grind.
The grind. I played all the way through Hogwarts Legacy, and I thought that was a really, really fun game. But again, dust has settled. My big opinion on it is that it's probably the worst bait and switch game I've ever played. Because for, again, dust has settled. I don't think anyone has to worry about me talking about the end of the game. Because, quite frankly, I didn't even get it. You get to the end of the game in Hogwarts Legacy, and the game literally Professor Oak Pokedexes you. You beat the final boss, and then you go to whatever professor, the one that gives you the book, essentially the Pokedex, And she's like, all right, you beat the boss and saved the day. Let me see your field guide. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God.
Revelation.
And I showed it to her. And to be fair, the game does a pretty decent job of railroading you so that you will feel compelled to complete the field guide and you're not super lost. But the game is huge. And I wasn't, we had a lot of releases coming out. And this was at a time when we didn't know all these crazy releases were definitively coming out. You know what I mean? So, like, even then, I was like, I kind of want to just, like, get this game done and over with because, like, it was fun and I had a great time playing it. The moment-to-moment gameplay was awesome. Even though the RPG elements were shallow, they were satisfying to experience. I thought, and it nails the Harry Potter feel. Absolutely. That, like, I felt...
It gives the fans what they really wanted, huh?
To be honest with you, I felt the wonder that I felt as a kid.
That's good. I'm happy for the fandom.
I was like, wow, I'm not even a Harry Potter guy. Like, I really don't care about it. And I played the game because it looked like a really good game and I was hearing good things about it. So I played it and I was like, wow, this is a really good game. But the problem is at the end, unless you finish the fucking field guide, she literally is like, oh, well, sorry. To look at the ending, you have to finish the fucking field guide and hit level 30. And I was already like level 31, I think. But my field guide was like 65% complete. I'm like, oh, hell no. Zelda, honestly, I love Zelda. It's probably the best first impression I've ever had playing a video game. When I first bought it, I was hooked. And I'm talking hooked.
You were happy
Drix.
when you got home.
I was really, really happy. I played that game nonstop. But I'm at a point, I haven't finished it. And I'm at the point where when I look at it, I just don't want to pick it up.
Huh.
You know why?
Why is that?
The lows go low.
Really?
The
gloom holds deep underground. Huh?
It really does, I'm a really big Majora's Mask fan, and I really like Link Between Worlds. So I kind of felt like it was okay if the Zelda team reused assets. Because the whole world is reused, right? Hyrule is no different.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, it's not. And if you've played Breath of the Wild and you put hours into it, like if you finish Breath of the Wild, the game isn't going to feel new.
Okay.
The new parts of the game that really knock it out of the park are the sky and the underground. A lot of people don't like the underground. I really like the underground. I thought it was really cool. And the sky is awesome. I love the sky world. The world of the sky is sweet. But the building, you got to be into that. I'm not into building. I'm not a Minecraft guy. I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. I like crafting when it's really straightforward. Like, don't starve, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not into this, like, hey, man, put this axle on this thingy and then, like, do the motor. And then the crafting items themselves, they die after a certain point. So, like, if you fuck up your first time, you might as well just get a whole new bunch of items to start crafting your vehicle with, because that vehicle is going to disappear in midair when you're trying to get to where you need to get to. It's ridiculous. Like, there are so many things that just nitpicks, and those nitpicks, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. So, like...
Yeah, so once you get your teeth sunk into it, you sort of get weary of the Tonka trucks and Legos and erector sets and Lincoln Logs.
so that's the worst part about it, is because you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. It's not this, like, I shouldn't say it's not. It can be this, like, engineering, like, I'm gonna make a robot or like a sick weapon that like goes to the moon or like hits enemies to like obliterates that, you know what I mean? And like they can never recover. But getting there man, it's a chore, and I just don't have the patience for it. Even after you get something like auto build that really allows you to just have the freedom to do whatever you want, sort of thing. Even after getting that, you know, there's problems. Like, you'll start auto building, it's like, all right, auto build this, and then like it stops auto building halfway through. The dungeons aren't even good.
Oh.
Like, the dungeons,
Yeah.
the dungeons are dungeons. I hate the people who play this game and they're like, oh, they're not even dungeons. No, the fucking dungeons are dungeons. They're real dungeons. Like, the problem is they suck.
They're just not good.
They're just not good dungeons. and again, people be shitting on the bosses in Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know why. I think they're fine Zelda bosses. They're not like, you're not playing Twilight Princess bosses, right? You're not playing Wind Waker bosses, right? You're not playing these really challenging Zelda bosses. This isn't Majora's Mask in the Moon, right? Fierce Deity. But these are Zelda bosses, and you know, they work, but the dungeons suck.
Okay. I also wasn't into the whole chic shrines of Breath of the Wild
and
either.
Oh my god,
I'm picking that up a little bit still, and it doesn't keep me invested.
So it's cool that they expanded the shrines to essentially be fun little puzzles every single time, and some of them are really cool, like Talos Principle style puzzles. I'm not going to say that some of these shrines don't make the most out of these new systems that they put in the game, because they do, and they're really fun. But man, again, these lows go low, and the inane busy work that it feels like half the time I'm playing Zelda, this Zelda game, I'm running into things like across the landscape, and I'm just like, I'm avoiding them rather than wanting to jump at doing them. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, there's these dudes who always want you to help them prop a sign up, and like I did it like once.
Yay, that was fun. You know, you gave a mouse a cookie.
Yeah, and then like, but there's like a million of them, and they're everywhere.
Oh, it has the Fallout 4. We found a new settlement that needs our help.
Oh my god, dude! Again, nail on the head. Like it. You know what? Again. Because we're going to get into Final Fantasy 16 right now, and I'm not going to go into any spoilers for the game. I'm not going to go into any like real like in-depth things about the game. I'm just going to give a quick overview. But in the year of genre departures, in Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16, these are not the greatest offerings. That I would not say these are the greatest offerings that these franchises have ever given you. Because for Final Fantasy 16, you know what? Combat, great. I love the combat. People who say that the combat gets boring, I don't know, bro. I be doing stance switchy, Devil May Cry, action combos. You're going to see it in the B-roll a little bit later coming up. You know, I be doing these combos, and they be fun.
Yeah, executions.
Yeah, there's a little bit of execution. It's not over the top. There's just enough. It's just enough to make you feel like what you did was meaningful in the window that you have to do it. And it's like, yeah, you know, and
accessible.
And the best part about that is when you combine that accessibility and that like loose combo system with the influences of Yoshi P's more well-known game of Final Fantasy 14, giving you those stagger, like the points when the big boss falls over and everyone just jumps him for like big damage quick. You know, that happens.
All-out attack.
Yeah, that happens in this game, and those feel really, really fun because you actually can push the damage. The game gives you the opportunity as a player to show off what you know and be like, all right, this boss fight can be cut by like X amount of minutes. Can you do it? And it's really fun. It's a good challenge. And you could feel the Devil May Cry. You could feel the character action style move, like in full force. But man, again, Final Fantasy 16, the lows go low. If you're expecting an RPG, I'm sorry, it's not here.
Yes. Let's hear it for the not a real game crowd. Let's hear not a real.
It's
Final
not even
Fantasy
really. I wouldn't even think to say that it's not a quote unquote real Final Fantasy, because if you have an MMO, it's a Final Fantasy game. But what this game is a character action game. And the Final Fantasy and the elements that traditional Final Fantasy fans that come to love, even people who come from the world of Final Fantasy 15, right, where they flirt with the action RPG elements way more than any other Final Fantasy ever did. You still had a big, robust equipment system. All of your party members, they weren't super in depth in what they can do as far as skills, but they could have a good play style and flow between your party members. There's none of that in this game. You're Clive. If I'm paying attention to what drops and I'm doing the really super duper hit or miss. When I say hit or miss, I'm talking hit or miss. When I say hit or miss side quests, if I'm just doing everything the game is telling me to do, everything is given to me. I have every important crafting thing that I need. I have all the good drops. I'm hitting all the important shops. Because the game just gives it to you. You don't need, there's nothing tucked away. At least I haven't found it. There's nothing tucked away in these little corners.
It doesn't taste as gamey, does it?
It's not even that it feels gamey, because the gaminess is there. Bro, there's an arcade mode in this game.
Oh, man. I need to get a PS5.
The gaminess is here. It's just the Final Fantasy, and the Final Fantasy elements are gone and replaced with a Final Fantasy meets Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Western fantasy aesthetic.
Yeah, they have moved forward in a direction.
Yeah.
And whether or not you think it's progress in your area is to be determined.
Very reminiscent of Final Fantasy X, not gonna lie. Very reminiscent of that whole atmosphere. Very reminiscent of the atmosphere of Final Fantasy 13. But this game is 18 times the game that Final Fantasy 13 or any of its predecessors were.
Oh boy.
It's if you like Final Fantasy, I would say that anyone with a PS5 should play it. It is a must-play PS5 game, simply for the virtue that the visuals and the gameplay and the
very
characters.
flagship.
Yeah, it's very flagship. It's all very flagship. And even though the plot is, again, hit or miss, if it hits with you, great. If it doesn't, it's really not going to hit. Even if the plot is not great. Because again, keep in mind, this is a Yoshi P production, and he has a very specific way of telling a story. And that storytelling really shines through. So if you've never been exposed to it, you'll probably love it. If you have been exposed to it, you might find it pretty cliche, because it can get pretty cliche, and the storytelling can get pretty fragmented. But there are moments and there are character moments and storytelling and storytelling and heavy storytelling themes, thematic concepts that come through really, really well. And they really save this Mass Effect 2 feel of, I'm going through this 2 to 6 hour gameplay, not really slog, but stretch. where I know if I die, there's probably the consequence is probably playing 2 hours of this over again. And
Ooh-wee.
yeah, and so when you start feeling that kind of pressure, it's kind of like, whoa, man, I don't know about this. But when you hit those moments, damn if they don't feel good. Wow, I'm rewarded for literally slicing through an army of enemies.
Training you to play like the heavier MMO too, or installing some of that. Let's break them in, and so they don't stand in the orange, as they say.
Totally, too, dude. Totally.
In the area of you're gonna get hurt if you stand here.
Yes, 100%. And you feel it, and if you're into it, great. If you're not, then it sounds like from what you were talking about, you should play some Diablo.
Yeah, and I did love that about 14, like the writing, and it's like classic English literature feel, and it felt really authentic, and so yeah, I'm personally into this whole like what you would call Western RPG or the Game of Thrones vibe or something, and all
which
the
is cool.
Like the English or European voice acting and stuff.
It's awesome.
They yeah, like the scripts were all in English first, and I can only imagine, what kind of struggle that could have been over at Square Enix.
It really shines through. That all of the presentation is dead on. Here at CFM Radio, we love ourselves some Microsoft news.
Yep.
And while day 3 of the Microsoft versus FTC trials is in the books, we have another piece of Microsoft news that we got to talk about. We got to talk about it, Jigs.
Oh, yeah. No, it's our bread and butter, man.
It's our bread and butter from Tweaktown. The headline reads, Xbox missed annual revenue forecast by $780 million.
Woo!
Hey, you know what? That sounds like a pretty big margin, right? But let's jump into the news story. We might have a little bit of a different idea. Reading further, quote, the Microsoft Activision merger is being challenged in federal courts, FTC versus Microsoft, and a lot of interesting information is being released to the public as a result. The case file exhibit list includes one very illuminating 80-page internal Microsoft document that outlined where Xbox currently is and where it can grow. The slide deck, which was issued during Microsoft's quarter 3 for financial year 2022, January, March 2023, has assigned the estimated revenue target of $17 billion for the Xbox game division. Actual results were quite different. Xbox made $16.22 billion, missing the target by $780 million. It's important to note that even further, it reveals just how astronomical these goals are, Trix.
Yeah.
This is pretty crazy. Get a load of this. With Microsoft missing their Game Pass subscriber total, even after growing by 18 million subscribers.
Ooh.
The article further reads, this number is still quite impressive. Microsoft's performance throughout both calendar year 2021 and 2022 was enough to beat Nintendo's revenues for the last 2 years in a row, despite Nintendo having the best-selling console on the market today. That's a big piece of news, Drix.
Yeah, that man, that really puts everything into perspective as to where at least their money mines have been as of late.
Yeah, we kind of people like to say oh, everyone has a Switch, right? Everyone's got a Switch. You have a Switch, I have a Switch, everyone in Japan has 2 Switches. But if this is the case and Microsoft is beating these guys, that's pretty big deal, They missed their forecast. But again, let's think about how astronomical this forecast is. They missed it for after growing by 18 million subscribers. Their target
The effort was
revenue,
made.
yeah, their target revenue was 17 billion for the Xbox game division, and this is after the FTC earlier on released that, Phil Spencer himself, straight from the horse's mouth, said that pretty much whenever they go to the Xbox executives or the Microsoft executives as a representative of the Xbox brand, they give them the rigmarole. They're like, we love your brand, we love what you do with Xbox, and we think Xbox is strong and has potential to grow, but we can't give you a budget. And it's like, what can you do?
Daddy Gates,
Right. What can you do?
What can you do to please the people at the top?
Give them grow more than 18 million subscribers and pull in more than $17 billion? I guess. It's not enough to beat Nintendo.
Seems kind of silly.
Yeah, it definitely seems kind of silly, and we're going to jump into even more of this Microsoft FTC stuff, get a little bit more in the weeds of day 3. Day 1 and 2 pretty much were establishing Microsoft's case, and like I said, Phil Spencer took a beating. He called the console in defense. He called the console wars a social construct. Like I said, he said that the executives at Microsoft, they like what he does, but they don't really give him the budget that he needs to get to where he needs to get to. He continued to reiterate that they are committed to bringing Activision Blizzard games to other platforms, including PlayStation. He was establishing a pretty solid case and establishing that, even in the midst of such growth, he's still pretty much taking a beating and he's still on the back foot. We talked about it last week. Michael Pachter says that that Game Pass service, in order for it to be an actual success, it has to be not anybody else but a Netflix competitor.
Seems rough.
Seems pretty rough. I think so too. We're gonna jump into more news, but that's after we get through the week's new releases. But first, we're gonna listen to some more jams. CFM Radio. We are back.
We are back.
We are back, and I think it's time, because I think we're winding down from a month of wild releases, from Street Fighter to Final Fantasy to all the survival horror in between.
Mm-hmm.
If you've done all that, or none of it, and want more, or something new, then here's some new releases coming out this week. So for the wrestling fans, AEW Fight Forever launches tomorrow, June 28th, Thursday, from the website. Developed by acclaimed wrestling game developer Yuki's, AEW Fight Forever is the first video game officially licensed by All Elite Wrestling. The best of the best from the AEW talent roster means players can look forward to playing as some of the most legendary wrestlers to enter the ring, plus all new high-flying AEW talent. AEW Fight Forever combines nostalgic arcade wrestler feel with innovative AEW finishers and tandem offense moves. With 10-plus gameplay modes, wrestler customization, and online co-op tag team matches. Oh, cool. The first officially licensed AEW game is looking to make a big splash. Drix, are you an AEW guy?
Yeah, I had a buddy get not only me, but me and my girlfriend into AEW. We actually watched the Forbidden Door pay-per-view last Sunday. And man, I mean, we're just generally much bigger fans of AEW than the WWE. For stories, or just we've seen people from the indies rise up and then take the AEW stage, and you kind of just love to see those journeys. And I kind of like the vibe and the personalities behind all that better than say our WWE counterparts. But yeah, we don't get. I mean, I feel like the WWE games from what I've heard, have sort of fallen off or gotten a little beyond or past their audience or something. But this return to classic arcade, old school style wrestling games, I think is going to be welcome, especially among the fans who are, probably around my age and probably remember things like No Mercy and SmackDown. And yeah, the fact that it's getting online play and just we also appreciate a good couch co-op game here,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where it might not, there we might be doing other things, but in my heart, I would like to pick that up tomorrow when it comes out.
Hey, you know what? It's definitely might want to. I would wait on on these WWE wrestling style games because they end up tending to get a ton of DLC. So like, I hear the newest WWE is actually the best and it's the most highest reviewed WWE game we've had to date. But at the same time, I know that if I pick it up, that launch game is not going to have the roster or going to have a roster that's a little lacking, right?
Okay, yeah. I mean, give it the DLC watch and see if there's any bug fixes even.
Or even just a great discount for like all the wrestlers or like a season or two of wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if there's like a more complete edition, that would be very enticing. And yeah, it's really for the wrestlers that you love, that whose stories you like or hate or love to hate. They're really the ones making the franchise and doing all the crazy athletics, just destroying themselves for our entertainment. The least we can do is watch and enjoy.
AEW comes out tomorrow, the 29th, because Friday, June 30th, sees the release of Capcom's Ghost Trick, the Phantom Detective. From the Steam page, Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective, the classic puzzle-solving mystery adventure directed by Ace Attorney creator Shu Takumi, is back. This long-awaited HD remaster features upgraded visuals and sound, and new gallery content. Drix, I never played the original Ghost Trick.
No, I don't know what I was doing at the time.
Yeah, me neither. But I was not playing Ghost Trick.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it seems pretty cool. Like, I like the little cartooniness. I like the fact that you're like an undead detective. Seems pretty fun. I like the idea behind it.
Pretty grim Fandango. It's cool just to know that he was doing something before Ace Attorney was a hit.
Right? Really, really fun.
Had some previous experience, and I'd love to dive into his early work.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Ghost Trick comes out the 30th, Friday. But like I said, we've had a lot of big releases. Some of these releases are going on sale. Dead Island 2, I know, is on sale right now on PlayStation Store. We've got, there's a big Blizzard sale going on. I don't know if Diablo 4 is already on sale, but we know how Blizzard loves their sales. So definitely check out some of these. Keep an eye out on some of these digital storefronts. Keep an eye out on GameStop. Keep an eye out everywhere that you can get video games, because you know what, Drix? There's a lot of great games this year, and you would be hard-pressed to play them all. All right, Drix.
What is crack-a-lacking?
It's time for day 3 of the Microsoft FTC versus FTC trial. It's just wrapped up.
Okay.
I guess
Drama bomb incoming.
Drama bomb incoming. These trial days have been crazy.
Yeah, must be tough to be put on the spot like that.
Yeah, up against the FTC, they're gonna gun for you.
Mm-hmm. That's a big bout.
Today was the day that PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan delivered a pre-recorded video deposition to the court in which he represented Sony and, it turns out, various other parties.
Ooh.
From TechRaptor, the headline is PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan doesn't see Nintendo as a direct competitor and explains Activision acquisition concerns. Whew, what a headline.
Yeah, just not concerned with Nintendo, huh?
Not really, doesn't sound like it. Well, let's see. In the article, the CEO is noted to have made such points as, quote, Xbox consoles are more popular in the US because many of their games involve an element of shooting and online multiplayer, as well as his belief that Nintendo, quote, participates in a different market segment as opposed to Xbox and PlayStation, as Nintendo's hardware is less sophisticated, cheaper, and generally aimed at a younger audience. Drix, do you feel like Jim has his finger on the pulse when it comes to the industry?
Somewhat. He is at least familiar with the technical capabilities of these consoles, and I'm okay with the sort of laissez-faire attitude that yes, there's enough market share for everyone. Like, people are so diverse that there's probably room for all kinds of gamers, young and old, and die-hard technical, and less visually influenced.
Very true. I as well think there's a huge market share for games and gaming. Back on the Kind of Funny Games cast, right? When Phil was on there, he said straight up, it's not just about making good games. You can't just make good games and people are gonna drop their PlayStations and sell them and buy Xboxes for Starfield. He said there's no reality in which that happens. There's no world where that happens. So,
yeah.
I think, you and I, we're the common guy for all things considered. We're game journalists and we give our critique on games. But when push comes to shove, I bought Final Fantasy 16. You bought Diablo. We're not IGN and getting these blockbuster games by virtue of being ourselves. We're on the ground, so when these things come through, it's like, man, I don't know where the line intersects even between PlayStation and Microsoft. You have Microsoft saying that they're trying to push further into this hybrid cloud on-demand model. PlayStation here, Jim Ryan in the article says that he admits to using the exclusivity of PlayStation titles as a key facet of their business strategy. Ryan also claims he, quote, talked to all publishers and they unanimously dislike Game Pass because it's quote, value destructive. And this has been a commonly held view for many years. The CEO also believes that in spite of agreements, Call of Duty will be leveraged against Sony and that cloud gaming will, quote, become a meaningful component of how gamers access games between 2025 and 2023. And Drix, I feel like that is a decent statement on that counters Phil Spencer's rather flippant dismissal of like, oh, well, is there even a cloud gaming market? I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, you figure it like this, Drix, like, we're still in a somewhat tech crunch, right? Supply chains are slowly coming back, but at the same time, people are still trying to do the most with less. And I think Jim Ryan hits the nail on the head when he says that cloud gaming will become a meaningful component of how gamers access games between 2025 and 2035. Essentially within the next 10 years, over the next decade, that's going to be a big deal. I think he's right. And I also think that, like I said, Phil Spencer's rather flippant dismissal of saying, oh, is cloud gaming even a market, when he represents a console or a gaming, yeah, he represents a game console and platform holder that has invested significant resources into cloud gaming.
Yeah.
like, like it's kind of it's a really weird teeter-totter that's going on. And Jim Ryan's out here saying that Game Pass is value disruptive and that publishers unanimously dislike it. There's a lot of games on Game Pass, but Jim Ryan may have a point, because Bobby Kotick himself, I saw a quote from him saying, he's seen this streaming business happen in Hollywood, and he sees the potential for devaluation of the products as well. So there might be a grain of truth to what Jim Ryan is saying, in that at least publishers being weary of Game Pass, right?
Yeah, they should have a healthy fear, because if everybody's paying Microsoft or Game Pass, then like who's paying the devs to actually make the games? Unless you've been already eaten by Microsoft, and it all has very little too close for comfort ties to it.
Let's think about the next 10 years of gaming, right? Let's just stop for a second and like check out the landscape. When it comes to visuals, I go back to the Kingdom Hearts 4, I guess, teaser, where those visuals blow you away, but I'm thinking that's just going to be how games are going to look. People like to throw shade at the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, but I think we've barely seen what they could do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, after the showcases like the PlayStation 1 and stuff, there's still more to come for this generation. Absolutely. Almost doesn't even feel like this generation yet. It still feels like the next generation, like we're quickly approaching, but not quite there.
Not quite there. Yeah, we've got. Again,
I haven't tried to buy my PS5 yet, so I don't know what kind of struggle I'm going to have trying to get it.
These days, it's not too big of a struggle, but I always go back to Michael Pachter and him saying, like, that it's easy for developers to make previous gen versions because it's not an enormous technical leap from PS4 to PS5. It's more the finer details, and like
ray tracing.
I give you the ultra low definition version of PS on the PS4. Like,
pop that bad boy in low poly mode and make me a PS1 demake.
Legit. I don't know. I don't know which version of Diablo 4 you're playing. You're playing the PS4 version, right?
Yeah. And one of my only complaints is that I'm not playing it on PC.
I have a friend who played the Hogwarts Legacy port for PS4, and she says it's, I was there when she was playing it, and like you can't even go through the whole castle in one go without hitting a loading screen.
Oof, yeah, that can get dicey.
Yeah, so like
on the two different ends.
You can make these games for the previous generation, and you can enjoy them. I'm sure. Here's the thing. I'm sure Street Fighter 6 on the PS4 is awesome.
Yeah, but I do see some little aesthetic things that either need to upgrade my 4K resolution or something.
But at the same time, you're still getting 60 frames, right?
I think so. Yeah,
I mean, you kind of have to. If you're not getting 60 frames, that's a really, really bad port. But like,
you need to wash some dust off to your PS4's fan.
Yeah, but I mean, you can still get the game, and Mortal Kombat 1, it's coming out on the Switch.
Yeah, that seems a little far-fetched, but here we are.
Yeah, there's a lot going on when it comes to this. I think it's safe to say this case is going to shape the next the future of gaming in a big way. Like our next huge big wave and the trends that you and I are going to embrace and engage in are going to be directly shaped by the points and results that come out of this court case.
Yeah, just sit back and enjoy the new releases and watch this pan out.
Watch this pan out.